So hi everyone who joined us today for this webinar. My name is Sasha. I'm the curator for Russian-speaking CISGP group on Telegram, and today we'll be talking to 3 CISGP awardees who will share their scholarships application tips, as well as give us their accounts of life and study in Sweden. At the very top of our discussion, let me thank Bogdana and Marina for helping me setting up this panel. To begin this, I would like to introduce 2 of our 3 guests tonight. It is Nancy, a student in outdoor and sustainability education at Linköping University from Kenya, and Amar, a sustainable energy systems student from Chalmers University of Technology in Gothenburg, and Amar is from Jordan. So let me start with learning more about you. Have you, both of you, reached the goal you pitched in your application to CISGP?
Would you like to start, Nancy?
Yes, I would like to start and say that actually I've achieved several of my goals, but there are some still that are long-term. And I feel that some of the goals that I have achieved I've been able to compare the education system in Sweden, which is quite different from what I have in Kenya. And I've been able to learn how they are able to especially incorporate the issue of sustainability into learning. And as well as I've been able to achieve my goal of being able to interact with international students and gain various experiences. But there are some lifetime goals that I have not yet achieved, but they're in the process, and I have begun with that. Yeah, thank you.
Amar?
Yes, I would say that actually I reached. It's one of my goals to have like work studying in Sweden, because maybe you know, and the audience also know, Sweden is one of the top countries when it comes to sustainability, and it's very important topic actually, and it's very related to my study. So it was actually my goal to study in Sweden, and I achieved that goal. And having this scholarship from the Swedish Institute helped me a lot as an application. I applied for the universities, especially that, you know, also I think the life finance. Okay. It's help when you have your tuition fees as someone who's coming from outside Europe. It's already paid, your accommodations and everything is already covered. So that helped a lot. And it made my study much easier and to focus more on my studies. So yeah, it helped me.
Briefly tell us what do you want to achieve accomplishing a degree in Sweden? What do you want to be?
For me, I would say that I would want to work as an international educator in the respect of I would want to share my experiences as an international student with other students across the world. And currently I'm developing something that will help educators across the world in terms of preparing learning experiences for learners that are fulfilling, and experiences that will help learners to have like a more fulfilling experience of being in school, not just passing through school, but they'll have lifetime experiences of being able to be in school. But if I was to remain in one workplace, I would maybe want to work for the United Nations, and also be able to work as an influencer in terms of policy and policy making in the education sector.
Thank you.
Yes, for me also, like having a master degree from as I said, in Sweden, one of the top in sustainability when it comes to sustainability is very important milestone in my career. And of course, I'm planning maybe to work here in Sweden also for a couple of years. And my bigger goal will be to intend actually to work for like, it doesn't matter, development agency or like government or NGOs, just as a playing a role in decision making when it comes to renewable and sustainable energy sectors in Jordan. And it's very important to be able to steer the wheel and to do this when it comes to renewable energy and energy in general. You need to have the proper knowledge. And I want actually planning to make Jordan one of the leading countries when it comes to, as example, when it comes to how to be sustainable in the region. Yeah.
Mhm. We have around 20 people, excluding you, 18 people watching. So have you considered other scholarships? Which are those scholarships? And how did your application go? Why did you end up taking CISGP?
For the scholarships, I tried several other scholarships, but in different countries. And most of them, I did not actually get a chance to join them. But for this, I really, what I really wanted from this scholarship and the reason why I applied for this is because I found a course that really was part of what my lifetime goals are. And Sweden being one of the countries that is among rates top in green countries made me really want to come and learn on sustainability issues so that I would transfer the same back to Kenya. So I applied for other scholarships, but I was not taken. But this one, at least I was able to get it.
I also actually I applied for a couple of scholarships and I get accepted by a couple of scholarships. But the main factor it was I had a couple of main factors which made me decide to go to Sweden. First one is, as I said before, it's one of the top 5 when it comes to sustainability. Second thing, it was the time. So I think a master's for 2 years is much better than 1 year. Especially, it gives you the time to understand and also to know more about the city, because the whole idea is not just only to focus on study as much also to understand the country and learn from this culture, a new culture you live in. Also, like if you want to be embedded in this society. And third thing, it was that in Sweden they are welcoming you to stay after you finish your study, and like if you want to work in Sweden, well, other scholarship might give you not this flexibility where it let you have to go back maybe for a year or two, then you can decide what you want to do later on. So actually, I wanted after I finished my master's just to have the chance to work and learn from the experience in Sweden. Then maybe I will decide to come back. So it was one of the key factors why I picked Sweden. And even that I got accepted for other scholarship, I decided to go to Sweden.
The CSGP deadline for application is just around the corner. And I wanted to start with Solomon, who I saw participating in another webinar with Gothenburg University. And there he made one clear point that the most important for a successful application is to read every guideline that is provided on the website or in the documents. Maybe you can elaborate on that, or maybe bring our attention to a few last minute tips.
Well, actually, it's very true that you need to read through those guidelines, because there are so many things that you will learn from those guidelines that are not just automatic that you will learn. You will be able to learn what the goals of the scholarship you're applying for are. You'll be able to learn what the core values, the missions, and the visions of this are. We also have other requirements that may need a lot of time to prepare for in advance. And if you don't go through the whole document to understand, especially what is required beforehand, what you need to prepare, you may find yourself at a loss, the last minute rushing and getting documents that are not relevant or things that are not going hand in hand with what you're applying for. So it's really important to read through the whole document first and maybe make a list of all the things that are needed so that as you get to apply, you'll be able to strike out each and every item that you need. I also discovered that by reading through these instructions, you find that you can be able to interact with people who are part of the scholarship. I was able to interact with a few people beforehand, and I got really important information before being able to apply and being able to like sit down and understand what I'm supposed to fill in. I was also able to communicate with the university where the universities where I applied for courses. I was able to interact with people who answered my questions. They gave me feedback on gray areas that I felt were not very clear to me. And that really made it easy for me to be able to apply and be able to target especially what is needed to be captured so that you can be accepted for this scholarship. It also gives you some peace of mind, and you are able to have an organized way of organizing your ideas and aligning your goals to the goals of the university and the goals of the scholarship body that is maybe sponsoring you for the scholarship. That's that I would really advise that people really read through these documents and be able to understand even the tiniest bit of information, because it may mean a lot in terms of getting accepted or rejected for scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree fully with what Nancy has said. It covered it all, actually. It's first of all, the SI applications are very clear. So if you read them clearly, you will understand exactly what you have to do and how you need to organize your document and even the steps. And I said before, like I applied for a couple of scholarships. So when it comes to Sweden, it was very easy. You have this website where you apply to universities, you get this acceptance, you get this scholarship. Like the process is much easier than what I have noticed from other applications, I would say. So if you follow those steps, you will be like, you'll having a very solid application and you'll be like ready. Nothing to add more than what Nancy said, actually.
I totally agree. Speaking of the application, so in Russian-speaking community, there are many myths about it. You can find discussions that even the number of programs in an application can affect your success. Do you know any myths you would like to debunk?
Actually, what the myths that I have come across is that these scholarships are only awarded to maybe children from rich families. And most people actually fear because they assume that you have to have like some kind of influence to be able to accept it for this scholarship. Actually, I think anybody is capable of getting a scholarship, regardless of your background, regardless of wherever you come from. These are open scholarships that you can be able to apply for and get it legitimately without saying that you have to have someone influencing it for you, because that's one of the main myths that people back in Kenya actually have. I have not come across any other myths, but that's one of the main reasons why most people fear applying for these scholarships.
Amar, do you know?
Actually, so when I applied, I just like searched, I found what is suited me, and I applied. Like I saw what is needed, and I just applied. I didn't care about what other people opinions, what would say. Like it's you apply and then you see what's gonna happen. You don't restrict yourself or block yourself with a couple of ideas which might be wrong or true. It's for me like I would apply, and this is what I did. And I think the Swedish application was again very transparent, very clear what they want. They want to see that you are professional who work in sustainability fields. It doesn't matter. There is like 17 goals for the United Nations by 2030, and they want to incentivize people who work in this and like give them like one step closer from what they want. So that was very transparent for me. There was nothing who would like say, yeah, you might apply or not. Of course you can apply if you get the criteria.
But to debunk this Russian myth about the number of programs in application, how many programs did you have? 1, 2, 3, 4?
The the Swedish scholarship, the SI, offers you a maximum, or not the SI, the site where you're supposed to apply for courses offers you a maximum of 4 courses. And I applied for the 4 courses. I did not say that I'll limit myself to one. I looked for the courses that I wanted and applied for all 4. And actually, when the results were coming out, I had qualified for all, but got accepted to one. So I don't think there is a limit as to the number of courses you can apply for. If they have given a maximum of 4, the best I think I would go for the maximum of 4 so that you stand more chances of getting admitted to either of the universities.
Yeah, I agree also with Nancy, what she said. Like, if you have only one application you want to apply for, or like one program, you can apply. If SI didn't mention anything about this point, then it doesn't make any difference. Like if you applied for 1 or 4, but as Nancy said, it's just like you are increasing your chance of getting accepted or having a seat in the Swedish education system, and then you might have the chance to get the scholarship based on that.
So how many programs did you have listed? Just for the
applied for 4.
Amazing. Well, that's quite a lot of work. And to which program you were accepted? To which number? The first one?
I got admitted to my first choice.
And Yoma?
Okay, first, regarding what you said about like it's a lot of work. So usually I pick the program which are similar to each other. And when I looked the criteria, it was almost similar. The motivational letter. We're talking now about the university side. It's not the scholarship. So the motivational letter was the same. One of them had asked me for like to have a video, like to have like a short introduction and video, and then I did it. It was a different, a new thing to me, but I did it. That was the only difference for that application. But in general, it was similar motivational letter, similar document that I need to submit. So there was not a big difference. I applied for 4. My first option was conditional approval, which is to KTH or KTH, and I get the 3 rest. I was accepted, but definitely I picked the second one because I put them in prioritize. And your scholarship you get for the fully approved one. So I get my scholarship for the second option, which is Chalmers, and then I followed the procedure with that. I could wait it for KTH, but I will not get scholarship for the conditional approval. You only get the scholarship for one of those options, the 4th that you get, and prioritizing them, you will get for the fully approved one. So yeah, it was the second option.
And you both applied in 2020 or 19?
You apply in 19 and you get for 20, but you need to apply in 19.
Yeah.
Start application.
Yeah. So let's then dive into the application itself. So how to approach the Csgp application apart of reading the guidelines. So there are many documents. There is the motivation, which this year is just 1,000 characters with spaces, just one question. There is the CV, there are the proof of work and the leadership form. How to approach all these documents?
My approach was quite, I would say was really quite challenging in a way, because I had a very long CV for myself to begin with. And according to the scholarship requirements, you had to have like a very brief CV so that you would fit the gaps that I was supposed to fit in. That really gave me a lot of time to think about what is really important that I need to capture so that it communicates to the body that will be assessing my CV, my intentions, my qualifications, and everything. So it really took me a lot of time to sit down and weigh the options of what is very important, what I prioritize, and what I have motivated in my applications, so that all of them would have a matching kind of, like I would have a common theme across, if I would call it a theme, such that if my CV talks about me being a leader, the leadership has to show the exactly what I talked about here. It has to be to relate. I'll not talk about being a leader here and not have a relating experience or a relating document to show that, yes, in fact, I was a leader. So I first began with my CV, looked at what was really important for me, and that helped me in filling out the leadership forms and feeling my motivation and feeling what was the other document that I really needed to, yes, all those documents. So from the CV, I was able to capture all other details that were needed in all the other areas and approach the relevant offices that needed to stamp and sign all the documents so that I would have them in order and be able to apply without a problem. And actually, when I did that, it was very easy because I could see this relates to that, this relates to that, and I just had to get it together and go to the relevant offices and get my documents signed and scanned for approval. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I would say, so we know that this is scholarship about being a global professional. So this is where you need to tailor your CV to focus on. Plus, you need to focus on sustainability. So you know that the whole topic is about sustainability and the United Nations goals 2030, the 17 ones. So you need to understand, like, when you want to write your CV, this one is different. Like, you are applying for like kind of similar job for specific criteria. It talks about leadership. It talks about sustainability goals. So you need somehow to show this in your CV. Plus, it should be connected to what else you need to show with your other documents, such as your motivational letter. But always one of the keys is to be already prepared earlier. So you already have these documents ready with you. You know what you need to fill. You need to know with whom you need to contact, like previous work experience or non-government or like volunteering work or anything previously you have done which could help with your application. It's better to have clear contact with them or having like just get what you needed ready. Maybe you had them, tell them what exactly you need them to write, or like tell them what need to be mentioned, because again, they are not fully aware about what kind of scholarship you are applying for. So maybe tell them like about leadership or help them with a couple of sentences what you wanted, and they can help you with when they write it. So we have, first you need to show one of the documents where you need to show that you have worked in specific hours related in leadership programs. In my case it was so I give it one for my previous work, or like the work I was currently at that time working on, and another one it was for a volunteering experience. I have several volunteering experience, but I only mentioned one because I could only mention two experiences. So it doesn't matter how many other experiences I had, I showed that in the CV. But they want at least two experiences to be shown, and that's what they care about, with specific numbers of hours and to be stamped and signed as a proof. So I managed to do this, and I also checked what they have wrote for me, and I made sure that this is actually what I want to show in my work experience. Same with the other one. It was also like something that the company need to write. Also, it's the same topic with it. The motivational, it came later. I remember when the application was open, and it was for me that I need to fill it, but I already was expecting what I need to mention in this. So it was more again like what role I want, as you have asked us in the beginning, like what actually we want from this scholarship, what actually want from our this study. Like we all know that we want to do some change in this world. We know that we want to make a difference, to play an important role. So this need to be shown and mentioned, and where this, how it will steer you. So it's very important to mention like where you see yourself later on, what kind of leadership position you want later on. So this is for this, and my CV again, it was tailored as I mentioned earlier. So those, I remember those 4 documents. Yeah.
And speaking of these documents, is there any one particular document that plays a role?
In my opinion, I felt like the motivation was carried a lot of weight, because that is where you get to spell what you tell the reader, what is it that drives you, or what's your why do you want to apply for this course, and what do you want to achieve with this course that you have applied for. So I felt that the rest of it gave the background, my background, and what I had done, what I had accomplished. But in my motivation, I wanted to show what I want to achieve now after getting this scholarship and being able to study the course I'm being able to study. So I felt like the motivation carried more weight than the background information I was giving about myself. So that from the motivation, then these people would look at what is in my papers and my background. Does it relate to what I'm saying? And is it able to push me to the next level as I'm motivating? Is it able to give me that push that I need to achieve my goals in the next level? So I felt like, to me, the motivation carried a bit more weight than, okay, not a bit more weight. It, to me, is what I felt was more important than most of the other documents I had to fill in.
In my opinion, I would say they are all important. It's just only 4 documents. So I think when SI has picked them as 4 documents, so I think they are all important, because they could have asked you for many other documents, but that was, for example, they didn't care about your grades. They didn't care about like several topics related academic part, because the academic part was already been approved by the Swedish admission for the university, so they don't care about this. So those, what they have asked, I think they are all important. However, if I would say the most important would be a proof, like the reference letter. That was the main proof that you already have accomplished something as a in leading, and that you are working, you are in this track already. So I think, in my opinion, it would be the reference letter. Plus, also the motivation is important because it reflects how you see things and where you want to go in your next step. But I would say the reference letter, because it's stamped, signed. Of course, if I'm not saying that, guys, if you didn't, if it wasn't stamped and signed, don't apply. Apply anyway. But like it's a proof that those people, they worked with you and they believe in you. Yeah.
Show trust in you. Yeah. And I just want to mention that I think for many of Russian speaking people coming from the territories of former Soviet Union, the sustainable development goals is something that some of them have never heard of. Media does not pay much attention. Governments either ignore the goals or don't pay much attention to them, etc. So all this SDG thing, as I would put it, is something new for many of us. And looking at the CV application, at the CV in the application, this year they ask you to mention the SDG goal you worked in previously. Was it the same last year? And do you think there should be a strategy picking up all of these SDG goals? Should they fall under the same number, or they're looking, I don't know, that you have one experience in one SDG goal, another experience in another SDG goal? What is your take on that?
My take on this SDG goals, for me, it was it was a big challenge identifying the goals that I was, not a challenge because I had not participated in them, but because when you look at the education sector, it will like touch across so many SDGs, and you have maybe participated in various activities that touch various SDGs. And maybe I was able to look at a situation and analyze it and look at majorly what maybe what SDG it was working with and identify that as the SDG. But I feel like you should not limit yourself to specific SDGs because of maybe how the question is structured or something. If the activity that maybe you are doing is cutting across, you can look at the main one that is really touched by whatever you are dealing with and identify that. Because for me, I was able to identify, I think, at least 4 different SDG goals that I had worked with in my CV because of the things that I was citing. And being a teacher is was able to give me like an overview of every activity I have dealt with and being able to assess it somehow and relate it to what was in question. So I feel it's possible to cut across different SDGs. You should not limit yourself to specific ones.
Mm-hmm. Amar, anything to add?
Actually, yeah, I think NASA has covered it all. So yeah, I would.
Yeah, we should keep up with time to make it faster. But I just wanted to ask one more question on the motivation letter. Is there a secret formula? What should be in this motivation letter? Should it talk about your previous achievements, your aspirations? Should it state a specific problem you want to solve? And if yes, how should you come up with that problem?
In my motivation, I did not look at most of my background. I was able to identify a specific problem in my system, the education system in Kenya. I singled out what I felt was very important to me, and I was able to motivate how I would work around that problem and give the reasons why I want to work with it and what I want to achieve with it. That is how I approached my problem.
For me, like as I said, it's very important to show where you see yourself next. What are you making a difference in this world? It's very important that they are looking for leaders. They are looking for people who would make a difference. And we are like, I would say, racing time in those topics, the sustainability topics by the UN. So they want to make sure that you want to make a difference. So it's very important to show what you have done so far and what's your plan for doing later. I think this is, as Nancy before said, you can show this with your motivational letter. Yeah, I think this is very important. Also, I think it's very important key that you need to, again, the way you write your CV, even when someone writing about you, like just read what they have mentioned about you, or like maybe you want to change a few things, maybe you talk with them about like do some changes, because again, there's like keywords that say we all know that what you want to change, how you make a difference in a current situation, and why you feel that you deserve this scholarship. So it's very important to mention these points in your application.
Do you think it is important to provide some data in this? Numbers, statistics, maybe?
I lost you in the connection. I didn't get your question.
Do you think it is important to provide some data in this motivation letter? Some numbers, maybe some statistics?
It depends on what you are really focusing on. For me, I did not capture any specific data. And because of the limit in the number of characters I was supposed to use, I felt that I had to be very brief and clear to the point. I did not like want to relate A, B, and C. I wanted to send my point home with the limited number of characters I was given and be able to like communicate as clearly as possible what my intentions were with this application.
Same, actually. I didn't mention any statistic, any numbers, as Nancy said, because we are limited with a specific number of letters. And actually, I wanted to use all these letters. Like, actually, I wrote this couple of times just to make it fit with 1,000 words. So, yeah, I was like too much straight. Actually, the idea of it to be like straight to the point, say what you want to make a difference. Like, yeah. So no statistics, just saying that I want to do this, I want to make these changes, here where I see myself, and I need this scholarship.
I actually think this limit is quite interesting in a way that when you open it first time and you see that there are just 1,000 characters, you are being quite surprised. But then you realize there is good, that your statement, if it is written in a nice way, is actually very precise, to the point, and you should spend time making it to stand out. So if we move to universities, I know all of the participants probably have already chosen universities. This will be for the next year applicants. How did you choose the program and your university? How to narrow all these programs to just 4 or maybe even 2 or 1? What are your tips on that?
My choice of universities was influenced by the courses that I really wanted to do. I had to go through the list of courses that were there. I went and read every university. I chose the courses that I wanted to do, then read through what was written in, there's an option for you to read what the course is and how it will help you and things like that. I read through and narrowed down to those courses I felt were aligned to what I wanted to achieve. And with that, I came up with a list of the universities that I had chosen. And they helped me to like strike out what was not in line with what I wanted, and then came up with the best or my first 4 choices. I was also trying to look for universities that was, in my view, because I was working, that did not require me to have a lot of documents to fill in, a lot of things to write, because of time and maybe clarity of what I wanted to do and being able to stand out. So I looked at the one that was least strenuous for me because of my work situation at that time. Yes.
Yeah, for me, so I first I was like saying which universities have my similar program that I'm interested in. That was first thing I did. Second thing, it was like which universities have the highest ranking, because I care also about the ranking of the universities. Third thing is what is the city have. Like for example, my first application it was KTH, which is one of the top ranking university around the world, and also it's in Stockholm, which is the main city, the capital. So I know that the lifestyle, because okay, it's important. My study life is important, but also there's another part. Like after you study, you want to have fun, you want to enjoy, you want like not to say, oh, my experience was only about study. I want to see the city and enjoy it also. So it was the university, what kind of program, what kind of university ranking, then that the city life itself. So my first option was Stockholm. The second option as a city, it was Gothenburg. And actually, I'm very lucky to be in Gothenburg. Like I really like Gothenburg city. So and that's like how I ranked my applications, because also I was like searching for the cities. I didn't want like just like study life. I want also like the full experience of living in Sweden. So it was important, and I feel like I like it now that I'm Gothenburg, that I don't care about like having the first option. Also, like Chalmers is one of the top universities around the world, so I'm lucky to be in Chalmers itself. Yeah.
Nancy, I know Linköping because I was looking at Linköping University some time ago, and I know it's a very small city compared to Gothenburg. Were you in a position when you were like the program itself played a much important role than the size of the city, or how was it in your situation?
In my situation, I did not actually look at the city life, because I wanted a course. I was looking at the choice of the course that I know would be important to me even in my future. I did not want to just get a course for the sake of being in Sweden. I really wanted a course that would speak to my future and inspire my future in a way that it would have a big impact on who I became in the future. So for me, I did not actually go into the details of what the city was, but I also looked at the rankings of the university, because I knew that meant a lot in terms of facilities and efficiency and things like that. But for the city, I actually did not pay so much. But I'm very excited because Linköping is a small, quiet city and very exciting and has so many things to see around. It's really a beautiful place to be in.
Cool. And speaking of 2020, 2021, we're still in the pandemic. I didn't ask you, how is it going for both of you? What are your studies like right now? And I understand it's quite difficult to say, to ask you if you are disappointed, but you are not, we are not in a position of controlling pandemic. Of course, it affected us all, but how did the studies go in this difficult situation?
When I first came in the autumn session, we were able to have one-on-one classes, and which was quite interesting because I was able to know my classmates, we were able to interact. We visited so many places in the autumn semester session, and actually I was able to know more of Linköping from my course in the first few months. But then again, when the other wave hit around December, everything became online, and even as we speak, we are still doing most of the things online, which sometimes I take it as, to me, is a bit good because it's a bit cold outside, and cycling in the cold and going to sit in class in the cold is not so much fun for me. But I feel I was at least able to socialize with my classmates and know them and be right now. So it's so much easier for me transitioning to the online because there are people I already know and people I can even call and talk to even when I'm in my house or anywhere else. So it's not really tough for me as we speak.
So I would say we are humans. Like physical contact is very important, I would say. So I know it's pandemic, but we always want to connect, especially when you go to a new country. Like you need to start making new friends. Like you have no one here to know. So even when we were like in the once we get like the scholarship and we've been like accepted, we start like gathering each other, like from the same country, from the same like programs and everything. We start collecting, and we had like a WhatsApp group for all the SI scholarship holders, and we all communicate like because we all are going through the same track, the same issues, like applying, and like our embassies was closed. Like we can't apply the Sweden embassy in my country and many other countries been closed. Like so, how we will apply? Then also there was no airlines at that time. So how we'll get our flight? So we had like so much trouble, and somehow we all connected together. We've been like maybe around 120 in this WhatsApp group, and we all sharing whatever knowledge we got. So we got this content, like we become like a small family of SI scholarship holders. And then when I came here also to Sweden, I know that I need some friends. Luckily, my university do like some activities where they gather all this international students and do like many activities together. So that helped me a lot. Even with pandemic, like we've been cautious about COVID, but still, like we went out. It's very important. It's very healthy, I would say, especially for mentally, like to meet new friends, to go out. And I still like go to campus, even everything is online, but still like I come to campus, I study, I make it like a work from 8 to 5, and then we do whatever we want after that. But COVID definitely has affected the way of learning, but still we managed like by ourselves, like to find like a couple of people who are interested to study together. We sit together in campus, we share like some ideas, because this is how we study faster, like when we ask each other questions. So I think everyone here is a smart person. Everyone will find his way. So I'm not afraid about anyone. Everyone will be in his own good way of doing things. So yeah.
And we are, I would say, 85% through. So let's move to studies. What are the pros and the cons of your programs?
I'll begin with the pros of my program. Is that mine being an outdoor program, I have been able to go outdoors so many times. I have been able to take up so many activities that are both academic related and not so academic related. And I have been able to visit different cities in Sweden with regard to my course, because being an outdoor educator requires me to travel to both rural and urban settings so that I can be able to understand them and be able to transfer the same knowledge to my children and my students. And that's one of the main good things, or one of the best things about my course. I'm also able to have lecturers or professors who speak English and understand, are really patient. And we have a kind of a good interaction between our professors and ourselves. We are free to ask questions. We are free to invite them for coffee or the fika tradition that is in Sweden. We are free to visit different places or organize our own activities and invite them to either assess or just have fun. And so I've taken that as a really good part of learning in Sweden, because in my country, it's not actually the same. It's like a very formal setup in terms of relating with the professors and things like that. And so that's one of the good things I have come to appreciate here. And I have also learned to become confident in riding a bicycle. In Kenya, I was not very good in riding my bicycle. Now, at least I go around the whole city with my bike, and I'm so confident, and it's quite easy. I've realized I was able to do it, but maybe because of other peers, I was not able to do it. When I come to the cons, my course is really time intensive, requires most of my time to be like, I have to really keep up with time and meet deadlines and have a lot of writings and readings to do. So for anybody who is applying to time intensive courses, and especially the 1 year courses, you have to be psychologically prepared to burn the midnight oil, because you have a lot of readings and a lot of writings and submissions to do. So that's one of the things that I feel is on the downside, but I chose it and I'm happy. I'm really enjoying it. I can't complain anymore. So yeah.
It's nice when she said about like, yeah, there's a lot of assignment, a lot of homework, like, yeah, it's endless. So I want to say actually, so I am a scholarship holder, but I'm also the chairperson for the Swedish Institute now in Gothenburg. So we have NFGLs, we call them. So the Swedish Institute Network for Future Global Leaders in Gothenburg, the Innovation Board, I'm the chairperson of it. And we do so many activities for the scholars. Mostly it was online, unfortunately, this time, but we tried to gather many times, like, because every scholarship had like a very interesting story to tell about, like how he became, what he have done before. So we always like have, this is one of the things that I said, like physical contact, it was important, like we always meet. So it's one of the extra curriculum activities that we've been doing. And I am also the president for Chalmers International Reception Committee. So in Chalmers itself, I'm responsible for all the international students when they come here to Chalmers. We start like organizing activities for them. There's a lot of fun happening in Gothenburg, I would say. A lot of extra curriculum activities, like we have the sauna. It's very famous here, the sauna culture in Sweden. So everyone go to sauna, and we organize like parties for sauna, and there's like bowling, there's many like lakes, adventure forests. So we always go out and like discover the nature in Sweden. There's like also, as Nancy said, like learning bicycles. Like transportation here is easy. There's lanes for bicycles, which help. Like if some people want to learn how to ride bicycles, many other activities happening here. Like it's endless. Like if you want to have fun, you can have fun. It's endless. Like, and the fika concept, as she said, when it come also to study. So because I was working for the last 10 years, and it was like I was like, yeah, let's go back to study. So first day they gave us the first lecture. It was 4 hours continuous, and I was like shocked. I was like, no, I can't do this. I was just sitting at home trying to have the lecture at home. Then I was like, no, I will go to campus. I will start meeting people and study together. And there was, as she said, like a lot of homeworks, a lot of projects, a lot of things. But the cool thing, as I said before, so we agreed, me and my friend, we study only from 8 to 5, like we are at work, and we try to accomplish everything at this time, and the rest of the day is for us, because it's very important also to keep the balance between your study life and your personal life. So we managed to finish everything on time, because we also help each other. Like we try to get the informations fast and how to think better. Like, you know, two heads is better than one. And that helped us a lot on like focusing our study, getting like a really good grades. Like all our grades are very good. At the same time, we are not letting any part of fun. We're always into fun things and go out. So we manage both sides. Yeah.
Briefly about the course itself, there will be people watching and wondering what is your course about. What are pros and cons? Would you recommend it? And how is it different from studies back at home?
Is it for Nancy or for? Yeah.
For you, Amar, you spoke about a
Yeah.
lot about extracurricular activities.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I said before, my course is Sustainable Energy Systems. It's called. So it's all about the energy. So for me, the pros is that this course, it talked too much about the new renewable energy. So how we can use the wind, how we can use the solar power and all this renewable energy, and make less effect of CO2 and make all our systems more sustainable. So the study of it, it was like hard. It's not easy. It's a new topic, and everyone is into that direction. So this is good from point that you'll be leading in these topics, and you will always have a better career, and like it will help you a lot in your future. At the same time, the cons, it's too much heavy study, too much assignment, too much things you need to finish. And sometimes you feel like, because here in Sweden, so where I come from and all my friends also, we have like a 2 semester a year. So there's the autumn and spring, but here autumn is splitted into two, and spring is splitted into two. So you will have every study period. So you have 4 study periods. Every study period, you will have 2 courses, and within a month and a half or 2 months, you need to finish everything. So it's a race, you know. It's a race. It's so much fast, so much to learn. It's heavy data, and you need to finish it within a month and a half. With the exams, it will be like 2 months.
Nancy, anything to add?
Actually, what I would want to add is we need to understand that in Sweden, the kind of studies that we have may be very different from what we are used to in our different countries, regardless of where we come from. And it's good to actually be prepared psychologically that you're going into a different system of education that may be totally different from your own, and be open so that you don't have to deal with issues of panic and stress because you are not able maybe to catch up with some things, aspects of learning, or the style of studies and approach of learning, because actually that is quite different for me. It's not what I'm used to. The first few days were like really confusing for me, but once I came to understand that that is the way it is here, and the interaction between the teacher and the student is not actually very important. It's the content is what really matters, and not me as a student or the teacher. It's actually the content. So I would really advise most of us to have an open mind when we come into the Swedish system of education, and have an open view, open mind of what to expect. Don't limit yourself to specific things.
Understood. And moving towards the end, just one question about CSGP itself, very briefly. Could you please explain what is the CISGP experience for you? Is there, are you in the network of CSGP? Do you have any specific events held for CSGP scholars? How does it work?
What for me is the greatest experience is that they have been able to organize both online and physical. And the physical meetings, we do them at the university level, but they are really limited, but we did them during the autumn session. But we have so many activities organized online by the network for the students who got the scholarship. And these are really informative and interactive sessions where we get to speak to each other, share our experiences, and have a kind of interaction, although it's not physical. And we are really hoping that the pandemic we get a solution to this, the COVID-19 pandemic, and be able to meet physically, because I think that would be more fun than when we just meet online. But actually, we have so many activities lined up by both the NFGL, which is the network, and even our alumni bodies. Sometimes they communicate to us, but they have included us in their website, in their, what we call it. Yeah, we are part of it. And so we can be able to interact with them and ask questions and be able to get some guidance from them. So I believe it's really, we have a lot of interactions, both physical and online.
But what kind of interactions are these? What are those events about?
We have sessions organized, like currently they have an online leadership webinar that is going on. Previously, they had been talking about, okay, I can't remember exactly, but we have so many sessions where they may invite different people from different companies to come and speak to us and tell us what they expect in their companies, the kind of work we can get there, and what they deal with. They also have sessions where they can deal with either issues in the society or issues within the universities. So we have different topics that are covered on and at different times of the year with different people and different bodies within Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Amar, anything to add?
Yes, so as I was saying before, so there's NFGLs. So those are the local networks for future global leaders. So those are responsible. So Swedish Institute organizes for every city. So as I said, like I'm the chairperson for Gothenburg. So our mission is to organize events for all SI scholarship in the Gothenburg. And this kind of event, including like gathering event, welcoming all the SI scholarship holders. We had like empowering women event. It was most of our event, it become online because of the pandemic, unfortunately. But usually, for example, last year, they've been organizing for like site visits to Volvo, to Spotify, and like for the United Nations also. And we make this like fully covered, like with transportation, because we have also a budget for this. So we always like try to connect all the SI scholarship with different kind of events. And we stay connected with the Swedish Institute itself. Like they also organize events by themselves for leadership, for different topics related to the United Nations. And yeah, that's mainly.
Mm-hmm. And let's move to the very last bit, I think. It's about life after studies. Have you thought about that or not? And my favorite question, to study Swedish or not to study?
For me, attended Swedish classes. I have been learning Swedish, and it's quite interesting, and a new language that is quite interesting and very different from my own language. And especially I have challenges with the very many consonants. I think it's one of the European things to have as many consonants in one word as possible, which I find very difficult for my tongue to pronounce, but it's really interesting to be able to learn Swedish. And what I'm planning to do is I plan to like be able to work in a school setup in Sweden and have an experience, a one-on-one experience with how schools in Sweden operate and how things go as a teacher, or maybe as an assistant teacher, or whatever level. And so that I can get a better insight as to the different aspects that make the big difference between our education system in Kenya and the education system in Sweden. And now that Sweden is one of the is rated highly in terms of sustainability, and it's in the curriculum, I would want to see how it's executed and how I can work with it even in my own home country, or in my future plans of different projects that I want to engage myself in, because I have several projects that I have already started working on, although they are still on paper, not in terms of infrastructure. But I would want to see how I can work with these projects with what I will learn from the Swedish education system and other interactions with people in Sweden. You know, it's not just within the education system where I can get information I want. It's even in other sectors that are related to education.
I would say I also start learning Swedish. So here the Swedish government actually offer learning Swedish for free. So you need to book. Usually the process, it takes time. So first you need to book by the SFE or SFI, and you book with them like a slot. After 2 months, they have an interview with you, and after 1 month, you start like you're learning your Swedish with them for free. Also, sometimes the campus itself provide like Swedish courses for free also. So learning Swedish, I think, is very important if you want to embed it in the culture and to be part of it. It's very important. And for example, I'm an engineer, so it's not that important to be learning Swedish actually in companies, because mostly it will be in English. But however, it depends on the topic itself. So I know my friend who study in like other fields, like communication fields or like healthcare and stuff. They are more important for them to learn Swedish and to be excel on it, to be able because they will use it much more in their daily life communication at work, I would say. But in both cases, it's very good. You have this chance to learn Swedish, so why not to take this chance? And especially if you want to stay here, it will help you a lot.
And studying in Sweden, the part of the whole experience is taking an internship. Do you think it is important to take an internship? Do you have any plans taking one? Or you would prefer to have more courses instead of an internship?
My course does not require that I have an internship, but if I was given an opportunity to have an internship, I would take it immediately, because I really want that experience bit of working in Sweden and interacting with Sweden and getting the values and, you know, the unspoken part of Sweden that will come out as I work and interact with people. I really want to get a grasp of that. So for me, if I was offered an internship or a job in Sweden, I would be willing to take up those jobs and participate in those activities that are related to my field of or my work in education.
Okay, I think that's it, but let's take a few questions. Or maybe one question from me. So in your long-term goal, do you plan to stay in Sweden or not? How do you see this? or it's too early to discuss this?
For me, my answers are always yes and no. I'm a Kenyan and I love my country, Kenya. And I would want to take back the good things I have learned in Sweden back to Kenya. But before then, I would also want to get an experience of Sweden, be able to work here, be able to interact and achieve as many of my goals I wanted in Sweden as possible. So my answer is always yes and no in terms of staying in Sweden and going back to Kenya. I would want to have a feel of both, or I would want to have both for myself.
Amar?
I would say yes. It's part of my plan to stay here in Sweden if it's possible. And about your previous question, so there's no internship, but we can apply for something called summer job. So it's like 2 years program. So in the summer you can apply for summer jobs, and usually it's always good to apply early. So I already applied, but still like it's in the process to get it or not. And it's very good to have this experience of working in Sweden. It helps you a lot faster to embed it in the society. So going back to your question, yes, I think it's one of my plans to stay here in Sweden because I believe it will open my eyes of new experiences, and it will somehow help me with my career. I already worked with my previous work in like I lived in different countries. Like I lived in India, I lived in the US, I lived in Dubai, and now I think they all somehow shaped my career and my personality. And I think if I worked here in Sweden, also it will somehow be a very important milestones in my life. So I want to take this advantage if I can. If not, of course, I will seek other opportunities always what is open. But yes, I want to be in Sweden.
Mm-hmm. And let's take a few questions. Maybe let's answer them as brief as possible. So there is a question about dormitory. What is your dormitory experience? Was it difficult to find a place? When to start looking for one?
My university was able to offer a choice for me to. They have an international office that offers accommodation for international students. So for me, my experience in terms of housing was quite seamless. I came and I was given a room to the key a key to the room that I was to live in, and which was quite easy for me. I did not have any challenges. Maybe it could be different for Omar.
I would say I was also lucky that my university provide us with accommodation. However, my friends who been studying in Gothenburg University, so there's two universities in Gothenburg, Chalmers, which is engineering, and the rest of faculties is usually in Gothenburg University. So Gothenburg University doesn't provide an accommodation. However, I always recommend to start applying for the accommodation websites, which is SGS, for example, in Gothenburg. Once you apply early, you will go into queue, and you can start collecting this point to be able to then use them for accommodation, or you can find like other website to use to find accommodation through them. I would say all my friend has managed to find accommodation, even that it's really hard to find accommodation in Sweden. But again, you need to play it smart, like apply early to those websites to go into queue for accommodation, try to seek how you can find a place. So it's important to play it smart and early, and see if your university will provide you with accommodation or not.
And maybe if I jump in, you remember there's the first question you asked me about reading the application from in detail. I discovered so many things were answered in the university websites. They have they have almost a subheading for almost every question that has been asked to them, and so it's possible for you to gather information from the university website, be able to get whether they offer accommodation or not, what you can do beforehand, and what you can do to be able to get accommodation. So if you have applied to different universities, you can go to their different websites and at least find out if they offer accommodation or not, so that you can prepare yourself in advance.
Solomon joined us. If we can ask you to unmute. Do you have any tips on looking for accommodation?
Thank you. Sincere apologies for joining you late.
That's okay.
A couple of assignments are dragging us left and right, so it's not at times easy to sleep normally when it's night or when it's day, so you just keep working and working and working. So to get a scholarship is not just to come and sleep here. It's not easy. These people have the condition to withdraw it in case you don't perform. The others can testify. So we're always working. I really deeply apologize. Well, what they said is the reality. Apply on time, and it's also good to start creating friends. If you don't have family members here or people from your country in this Sweden, you need to keep in touch with them. And there's one thing which maybe they've not mentioned. You should be very careful about scams. Those were the people who are online trying to fool you. You're coming to Sweden, please send me money to look for your accommodation. You must be very, very careful. People have lost huge sums of money sending money to unknown faces, ghosts on social media in the name of looking for houses for them, and it ended up uh, in their private pocket. So it is not easy to get accommodation. Some have stayed on the queue for 1-2 years waiting for a single room. But once you start on time, it is easier for you to be able to have accommodation. And it's, I wish to say, it might be advantageous for scholarship holders, because more often uh, this country considers us as ambassadors. So we have some kind of, I want to say, privilege. Want to write to them and say, I'm a scholar and I'm on scholarship. They are first of all sure that you're on scholarship, you have the funds to pay. It is not easy to pay a single room for about 3,000 Swedish krona, which is almost that kind of 300 and maybe 20 to $30 uh, per month. So once they realize that you're sure you're going to be paying every month, it will be easier for them to give you accommodation. That is the first guarantee. But beyond that, you have to really apply on time, try to try different options at the same time. The one which works is what you apply. So it's not easy, but there's always a way forward. There's a way to overcome that challenge to get accommodation. And you can also share with other people. You can find maybe some friends, some classmates, or people with whom you do the same course. Both of you, if you are male or female, you decide to combine your resources together and get a room. It's still possible here. And those are the options which are available. But it's not easy to get accommodation here because this country controls everybody who comes in, who goes out. Where are you living? You must have an address, or you live under somebody. So a lot of challenges, but there's always a way out, as I used to tell several friends who ask these questions. Thank you.
And let's take one more question. I really like it. What do you think was the worst part of your application? The thing that you thought might ruin you?
Is the question to me? Is it
To
about
everyone,
accommodation?
but let's start with you.
About accommodation or about applying for the scholarship?
No. The last question that we are taking tonight is from our participant who asks, what do you think was the worst part of your application? The thing that you thought might ruin you?
I don't know if it's applying for a house, because everything here is application. I tell a friend, this country is a country of application. You want a house, you apply. You
No,
want a personal number.
Csgp application for the scholarship itself.
Okay. Um, One of the things that can ruin you is not reading, understanding, and following the instructions. That is the biggest thing which happens to we can contribute enormously to your failure. For example, if they tell you submit your CV, 3 pages of CV and a copy of your passport. If you submit 4 pages, you are gone, automatically eliminated. That's the first thing. It means you don't follow the instruction. If they tell you write 200 words, by the time you start writing 250, the space which is being offered is not even going to be enough. And another factor is that of time. You must respect the time. For example, they say on the 18th at midnight, the application is going to close. Don't wait till 18 at 10 to midnight before you start struggling to submit your application. Everybody all over the world is trying to submit. So the system gets a little bit slower. So you knew 4 months ago or 2 months ago that application period is between the 8th and the 18th. So everything is planned in this country. If you don't plan, if you don't respect time, you don't follow instructions, I think it's not going to be easy for you. Those are just my 2 points, which I think can contribute to some people not making it.
Nancy and Amar, was there anything on your application that you thought might fail you?
Personally, I would say fear of the unknown. That's really what haunted me, fear of the unknown. I was not sure if I was able to actually put my point across regarding all the questions that were asked. I had so much that I really wanted to put across. I was feeling that the words were limited. I did not have enough space to express my views or what I felt. And basically, I was dealing with fear of the unknown. But fortunately enough, at least I was able to get accepted for the scholarship. But in my application, I was very meticulous in my application in what I did. I did not give room for any kind of mistakes that I would avoid. I really avoided that. So I was only left with my own fears of not knowing what to expect and how it is going to come out. So yeah, that's.
Amar.
Yeah, I would say same as Nancy. I tried as much as I can, not to leave any place for mistakes. And I followed all the instructions. I was understanding everything they have mentioned, and I just applied hoping for the scholarship. I did my best, and maybe as also Nancy said, I tried to fit as much as I can because there's a lot I want to say, but there's not space, so you need to be very particular in what you want to mention. So yeah, that's it. But I wasn't afraid. I did what I have to do, and the rest is to them.
Mm-hmm. And if you let me, just very briefly, there is one question that if I don't ask you, it will haunt me. There is one person asking, there is a question, and I believe it is in an online form that you fill on
Yes.
the website.
Yeah.
It asks, have you previously studied or pursued research in a country other than Sweden? Do you think it includes your home country?
No. If you have done, most of the time I felt like not within my home country, because I have because as I apply, I will show what I've done within my country and what I've been able to achieve within my country. I felt that maybe this question was with regard to another country other than my home country and in Sweden, because they had a limit as to those people who are either in Sweden or on different permits, and maybe that's how I felt. I was not quite sure about it as well, but I felt it was not in my country, but other countries outside my own.
Mm-hmm. And one very, very last, and after that we are over. Do you include courses such as Coursera, online education in the education and training in your CV? Anything taken online, does it count as education and training?
Yes, I think it counts as education, because if it's related to what you're doing and if it's a certified course, then I believe it counts. Maybe Omar and Solomon could add as well.
I agree with Nancy again. Like, if it's something related or would help you, why not to mention it? You're not losing anything. So yeah, online courses also count. Like now we are studying online actually. So so it counts. Yes.
Yes, actually, it counts, but in fact, you must be very selective in what you put in your application. There's not enough space. That's the first thing. So you must be very, very selective and choose the best of what you're able to do. Some people fail not because they don't have what it requires, but because they don't know how to put what is required. These courses do count, and it's always good to put them. And let me say, from my experience, uh, if you've traveled out of your country, they want to see not only your academic performance, they want to see somebody who has been or who could be a global leader. You must have contributed something. So if you have a small experience working in an NGO or something, that is what is actually needed. So if you have an online thing that you've done, and the world is going now digital because of COVID and even before then. So it would be advantageous for you to put anything you've done online to beef up your application.
I think this is a perfect point to stop our discussion, and I want to thank all of you again for agreeing to participate in our chat today. And just for the record, are you okay with me posting this video on YouTube?
Yes, I'm okay. I have no
Yes.
restrictions.
No
Yep.
problem, provided it helps other scholars to gain the experience and knowledge. If it's to help contribute in one way or the other, it's not at all a problem.
Amazing. Thank you all very much for coming. And it was a pleasure to talk to you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Bye-bye. Have a nice week.
Bye-bye. Thank you. And you too.
Sasha,
Yeah.
if someone also want to contact us for any informations, maybe you can give them our contact or somehow if they have any other question they want to ask.
Great.
Maybe it's up to you.
I will ask each or one of you what is the best way to contact you, and I will put this in the YouTube description information.
Sure. Perfect.
Thank you. Amazing. See you in Sweden.
You're welcome.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.